Okay, so nice to see you on this beautiful afternoon. So, as you know, if there are any questions, you're welcome to pose them. You can pose them simply by speaking them or by writing them in the chat box. So satsang is a meeting of friends, friends sitting around the fire of truth, our shared love for truth and our shared inquiry and our shared contemplation of truth. Truth being the reality of being, the wholeness of being. But we don't need to define it. We can just be it or contemplate it and just remain open to the revelation of our true nature, the revelation of the self. The self is never hidden. It's just that somehow our interest is in forms. Our interest is in the senses, in thoughts and sensations and mind impressions. And at some point, our interest goes beyond that, goes beyond the forms, beyond what comes and goes, and inquiry into what is eternal, what is real. Because reality has to be unchanging, ever present, and magnificent, of course. So then our interest turns from the infinite movements of the mind to that bonds everything, the core of everything, the substance of everything. And so it is via this interest that grows, that bears the fruits. Inquiry bears the fruits via insights, happy insights, insights that reveal, that release the wrong beliefs, the wrong notions. There is a joy in letting go of the false notion when the false notions drop, like you believe the keys of your house are in the kitchen and looking everywhere while all along they're in your pocket. At some point you realize, oh, they're in my pocket. You're very happy. Anyways, if you have any questions, anything you would like to explore, we can go into your questions. Hello, Ananda. So,
okay. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, Ananda, you're right. Neurobiologists have discovered, not surprisingly, that when a person talks about him or herself, there is a dopamine release, like mice nudging the cocaine button in a lab setting. No wonder the me impression is hard to go beyond. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, Ananda, with every dopamine release, there is like a certain rush, but it is.
Oh, you just froze up. Mm-hmm.
Are we still frozen now?
Nope, you're back.
Okay. I don't know what happened. I actually did nothing. I was just sort of starting to look into it, and now we have a new page. So your question is gone from the chat box, but I still remember your question. So as I was saying, Ananda, that with the when we have a me, when we get excited about the me, or we get into the me, like the dopamine, is the dopamine effect that you're mentioning has a beginning and an end. So anything that has a beginning and an end has a sorrow in it, because as you're experiencing it, there is an end coming. So it's like, okay, gee, I'm at the ride, I am on the merry-go-round, but oh boy, I know this merry-go-round is coming to an end.
Right.
So I hope that mommy or daddy have another dollar that they can give me, so I can go on the merry-go-round one more time. So the me impression is like that. The me impression, we get excited, about like feeling something about me, of obviously like something really nice. But within that, there is a sorrow that this is not real. That's not what is real. That is coming to an end very shortly. And so it's not really the celebration of the self.
No. So more like more like addiction psychology.
Yeah, it's addiction psychology. It is addiction psychology. We experience this moment of identity that has a certain excitement to it. It sort of seems to be real, but we need to prop it up. We need to keep it propped up. We need to keep working on it, and as we're working on it, there is the sorrow first of having to work on it, because it's exhausting. Secondly, knowing deep down that that's no matter how hard we're working on this image, that this body-mind image is on a time clock. And it's so, it is an addiction, because in addiction, we know that the drink we're having right now is really enjoying it, but we know that it is coming to an end. The effect of it is coming to an end. We have to go out buy another bottle. And we also know that this drink is destroying our liver. It's not really the happiness. It's covering something else. There is some deep sorrow that is being covered up by this activity. And the personal self is covering up the deep sorrow that we have separated ourselves from the wholeness, that we have identified with a mortal character, and seemingly we don't know our way out.
I recently started having a men's group, which is a very nice gathering of men. And one of the main issues that they talk about is that there's wound, that we talk about, is that you get in a relationship, an intimate relationship, they're all heterosexual men, so get in a relationship with a woman, and then wounds get triggered. Some will say it's so wonderful, except that we can't help triggering each other's wound, and no matter how hard we try.
Yeah. In in relationships, it's always, or often, it starts with the love, where we sort of, we forget the me and the you. We're experiencing the love, which is sort of this borderless presence.
Yes.
But very soon, the me, which is still there in the background, comes back on board with its conditions. With
Yes.
I want it this way, or I don't like you to be this way, and you're not meeting my conditions. You're disappointing me, and I'm disappointing you, and all our inner traumas, wanting to please, wanting to be loved, and not loving ourselves. All of that in the relationship is because in the relationship we're relatively comfortable, so we're sort of opening up. It's not like being at work where you sort of still are guarded. In the relationship, like with family, you open yourself up, and a lot of these inner contradictions are exposed, and it's a good place for you to, if the relationship allows that, it's a good place for you to see the stuff and to sort of hopefully together laugh at it and help each other in not remaining in those roles,
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm curious about is the idea of wounding, of like deep wounding and stuff like that, so that even people who have been through therapy, these guys will say, we did 2 years of therapy, etc.
Yes.
But this stuff is just not reachable almost. It's so, built in. And I know for myself, this kind of this kind of philosophy or self-realization is the only solution that I know of.
You could say that the personal self is the personal self is a bundle of wounds. When you look at what the me is, you will find a lot of emotions that are sort of suppressed, or they're being kept in control. Certain fears, certain sense of lack of feeling loved, or fear of not being appreciated, or being reprimanded, or fear of failing. All of these, you could say, they're like wounds that we pick up various points in our upbringing. This is what the personal self, in a way is. The personal self is these wounds, these emotions, these images, self-images that we have, that are also feelings. They're not just images. They're also bodily reverberations, bodily feelings that arise, and so the me is this whole movement of managing this stuff and remaining sort of somehow keeping some sort of sanity within this insanity.
Yes.
But it's all sort of, it's all ghost-like. It's as real as we make it to be, in a way. In other words, we identify strongly with our feelings, and we try so hard to fix our feelings, and so it's exhausting, and it's futile, because those feelings are like clouds that we're trying to shape the cloud, or we're trying to get rid of the clouds. In fact, the solution to all of this is to relax, is to recognize the relaxation that's behind all of that. There there is a place of peace. There is an untouched wholeness that allows all of that, and that in a way isn't touched, isn't affected, doesn't depend on this stuff, is free of this stuff. So I think those deep wounds, you know, I know there is a whole school of thoughts about healing the wounds, and the healer of the wounds is not via the wounds, although there can be a lot of help in looking at the nature of the wound, the source of the wound, but the healing of the wound is to realize the freedom of the self that doesn't need to fix anything. So that the whole slate is wiped clean. The whole slate is wiped clean. When I say wiped clean, I don't mean that there are no more wounds, but the wounds are like, they're not relevant anymore. Not relevant. I mean, the things that I experienced in my youth with my father, my brothers, etc. These things, they occur, they're there. I could remember them. I can even emote some of those things. But knowing oneself as, you know, what the reality that's of consciousness, somehow it releases all of that into the infinite space. It rather than just these things being sort of like so much defining you, they don't define you. They're just part of, they say, part of your, they were part of your path, and they're no longer needed. You know? They served their purpose, whatever it was. And the thing is, we try to understand like what that was about, and you can't really understand what it's about, because it's all the play of consciousness. I mean, why did I have this trauma? Why did I go through experiences with my father, with such and such people? Why? I mean, you could say, like, why? How come? And you can go into their history and their situation. And but in the end, the mind, no matter how hard you think about it, can only come to some pieces of the puzzle. You can't get the whole puzzle, because the whole puzzle is consciousness.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So that releases you from having to figure it out. But you have to accept that. If you don't accept that, then you're going to continue trying to figure it out.
I have thought, most of the time I have thought, and I almost said it, I almost butted in to say it, they become transparent, these things.
Yes.
But transparent is only part of the pic. You took it a step further than transparent by saying it's actually it's pure consciousness, and so
yes,
it's
well,
not like there's
it's the same. It's, you know, transparent and pure consciousness. It's I think it's saying the same thing. And what's really also lovely, Ananda, is that, you know, what seems to be happening, like some things happen to me, some things happen to you, some things happen to other people, Maria, Trish, etc. But these things that seem to have happened to me, they're, in a way, they're neutral happenings. You know, they were part of my path, but at the same time, they're part of the consciousness play. So in a way, your stuff is my stuff, and my stuff is your stuff. It's funny. It's like, you know, oh yeah, this happened to you. It's a happening. It's a happening that somehow from a certain mental reference point, it seems to have happened to me. That it's happening to me. So and not denying that there is an impression that this is a personal happening, but at the same time, it's an arising in consciousness, and consciousness is not a me. Consciousness is the universal beingness, universal witness, if you want, the universal reality. So in a way, all events, all these traumas are cosmic play, and at some point we realize that they've served their purpose, and we no longer need to use them. We no longer need to define ourselves. No, we no longer need to personalize ourselves via those wounds or those traumas.
Right. To be sort of entangled with them.
Yes.
It occurs to me that let alone the wounds and the bad experiences or whatever, even the body, mind, feelings in Vedanta, they're called the limiting adjuncts.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's great, because even the basis, before you even talk about the negative experiences, the condition, even this most basic stuff is called the limiting adjuncts, if you identify with it.
Yes.
It's limiting consciousness.
Right. The limitations, the limitation via identification doesn't truly limit anything. It's, it is a limitation to be identified, but consciousness doesn't truly get limited. Nothing limits it. So, because we have the impression that this limitation, the sense of separation, is very real. And so, because we believe it's very real, of course, it's connected to believing that there is an external reality, there is a dual reality, there is a reality of me, the body-mind, and the reality of God, the reality of consciousness. This belief in a dual reality it doesn't signify an actual dual reality. It doesn't signify an actual separation.
Right.
So a belief is like some sort of hypnosis, some sort of hypnosis.
Yeah.
But in a hypnosis, you still are what you are. You still are consciousness. You still are the self.
Right.
Journeying, it's a journey, a dream journey that doesn't really separate the self, because the self, the reality, meaning the one reality, the wholeness of being, it's impossible to separate it, because there's no other. There's no other. I think it's important to understand that, because it sort of takes out of the sense of separation, this sense that it's so real and serious and really needs to be solved, Yeah, it sort of softens the package. It's not such a big deal. It's consciousness's play, and it's really not consciousness at its best.
Somebody once said to me, God will create problems faster than anyone can take care of them. So,
I see.
So just relax,
Relax in your problems.
No, I mean, relax outside of the whole thing.
Right. Got you.
Why is consciousness doing it? Nobody can say.
Yeah. What helps us in relaxing around the whole sense of separation is that the contemplation that the reality of this moment in our experience, going directly to our experience, is awareness, is consciousness. And that's always there. we come to that directly. It's so beautiful that it's when we turn our attention to our experience and the reality of our experience, we come to presence. We come to that that formless, to the formless self, to the unborn. That's always there. So it's like we come to the ocean as soon as we are interested in the ocean. It's right there.
So I saw a story recently. I tell a quick story. The grandfather and the little boy are at the ocean, and the little boy says, "Waves," and the tide goes out, and all these different things. And the grandfather says, "It's all the ocean. It's just the ocean, you know." And so anyway, I liked it.
Yeah.
It's just the Atmananda thing about the ocean.
Yeah.
It's all water.
Yeah, and you know the ocean is the transparency of being, the seamless awareness, effortless presence. And as soon as we turn our attention to our experience, we immediately are turning our attention to that presence, to the peace of being. And that is infinite bounty, infinite potential. Everything that we need is right there. Closer than close. The healer of all wounds is this borderless presence, consciousness, awareness, beingness, the self. So turning our attention to our experience is different from turning our attention to the thoughts or to the feelings. Because thoughts and the feelings are like images on the screen. But when we turn our attention to the screen, we come to the presence, and then the images, we find that the images are like they're actually substanceless. They're made out of the substancelessness of presence.
So it's quite a paradoxical thing that we can celebrate that this whole expression becomes a celebration when it's actually substanceless at the same time.
Beautiful, yes.
How the heck does that happen anyway?
Yes, because in a way you can enjoy your dream. It's like wakeful dreaming. You can enjoy your dream because your dream, when you come to this presence, when you realize the presence, the reality of your experience, that it's this awareness, this borderless awareness, it's dreaming this dream, manifesting this experience is made out of it. The thorn of a sense of danger is removed. The sense of lack or urgency or vulnerability or that's absent, that's removed. And so then the dream, when you don't have that the party pooper, when you don't have the sense of risk and imminent danger, heck, what's wrong with that? It's like you are riding in the carousel, in the merry-go-round, but you have your belt, how they put your belt on, and you have the bar on, and you're up at 50, 60 feet up in the air, and you're having a ball. You're safe. All is well.
Right. That's beautiful. This is the best. This is the best so far that I've gotten to really understand that the celebration and why we can give positive, beautiful attributions to consciousness, such as peace and joy, and we can really let the fear and everything settle out, is because the fear, etc., really relate to the misappropriation of identity.
Yes.
And the other beautiful things don't.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
I'd love to get it more clear. Thank you so much. You know what? I'll be dropping out a little bit early because I have a dentist appointment.
Okay, Nanda.
Some major stuff happening in my mouth.
Okay, I hope all goes well.
Thanks so much.
Okay. So if there is any question. Hola, Gonzalo. So if you have any questions.
Magdi?
Yes. Hello, John.
Hi.
Hey.
I was on the internet or on the YouTube listening, and I tried to do a live chat, and then I think you somewhat answered what I was putting on the chat. I'm not sure how to use those things, but I chatted. Um, anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying or asking, is it like, and you did mention the screen, and it's sort of like the images on the screen. A lot of times that metaphor gets used in the non-duality, but um, it does appear that it's like, why chase the images on the screen? Like this thing of trying to find the answer or trying to find the solution in fixing things and the person and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is like the screen is not going to chase. I wrote on there, the screen isn't going to chase the images. You know, the images play, so why not just watch the play of it? So the screen can let the images happen,
Mm-hmm.
but doesn't need to chase the images on the screen. Could I say
Mm-hmm.
something like that? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, it makes sense. It makes sense, John, because the screen, meaning consciousness, is complete freedom, and the images that arise on the screen, they arise out of consciousness. They arise out of the screen. You know, of course, the metaphor is a little bit simplistic, but it's a screen out of which the images arise. So the screen has no issue with the images. It's complete freedom, and thoughts, perceptions, sensations, they don't affect the screen. The screen is untouched by the images. But you, as long as you are suffering, as long as you're not really at peace, to say, well, the screen doesn't care about the images, is correct. Is correct theoretically, but your experience doesn't reflect that. It's really important that your experience reflect that, because it's about you. It's about peace. It's about happiness. Who cares about beautiful non-duality statements? The hell with them. Who cares about them? What we care about is peace and happiness and freedom and joy and celebration. You understand, John? So yes, you are correct in what you are saying. The screen is complete freedom. And yet, why? It's a good question. Why do we keep seeking? Why do we keep inquiring? Why do we keep reading the scriptures? Why do we keep reading Nisargadatta? Why do we keep reading Ramana Maharshi? Why do we keep coming to satsang? It's a good question. It is not because we are stupid. It's not because we are frivolous. It's not because we're trying to accumulate stuff. It's because we're deep down in our heart, our experience and our understanding of the scriptures haven't yet come to lined up. They haven't come to harmony. So it is sincerity with ourselves. In a way, we have no choice. We continue to inquire. I don't like to tell people, hey, listen, stop seeking. It's silly to seek. You don't need to seek. All is well. I don't like to say that, because nobody needs to tell you that. You will stop seeking on your own. When you're done with your seeking. You understand? You don't need anybody to tell you to stop seeking. I don't need any great sage to tell me, oh, seeking is dualistic. You don't need to seek. I will stop seeking of my own when my heart is at peace. And that's in a way what happens, in the inquiry. Your heart and your being, I'm just using this imagery, become more and more at peace. Your understanding deepens and deepens, and the sense of self, of personal self, slowly releases out of your being as you are contemplating, as you are inquiring, as you are. Let me use the word seeking. As you are seeking, I usually don't use the word seeking. By the way, John, you know me. I rarely use the word seeking. I'm just using it just because it's being brought up. But our inquiry contemplation is an act of love. It's not so much an act of seeking. It is because we love truth, and we love to share truth. Truth is not mine. Truth is for everybody. You follow? You follow?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So we continue to contemplate because we love truth, and even when we are the peace, we continue the contemplation because we love contemplation. It's like being with friends at contemplating God, contemplating truth, contemplating beauty, contemplating friendship, contemplating wisdom. It's beautiful. It is really beautiful. I mean, it's nice also to come together and have contemplate a really nice salad when we are hungry. But also, that's also a contemplation in a way. We are celebrating. We are celebrating a magical salad. Taste, chewing, swallowing. It's all magical when there is some openness around our experience. There is celebration. So, coming back to your question, John, you are right. The screen is complete freedom, is not concerned about the images. It's not affected. But your experience has to line up with that, has to come to speak from your experience those words.
Yes. And I never really liked the screen metaphor, but I understand it better now, and that's because of my own experience as well. And I think it's one of the things for me is the image on the screen, or the person, like to use the word person,
Yes,
is believes. Let me turn off my microphone because I think it's repeating.
Oh, I'm hearing you fine. No, I'm not hearing you.
Okay, now I'm sorry.
I hear you now.
Yeah. It's actually that the image, I'm using metaphors, but it's the image on the screen actually believes. It's that belief thing. And these are some of the understandings in non-duality that they are helpful for me, it's come to some understanding, of course, and so it's that belief. But actually to know that my keys are, you started out with finding the keys, finding your keys, but to actually know in reality that the keys are there and not believing that they're somewhere else, or I'm going to find them somewhere else.
Yes.
Once the knowing is there, once it's there, it's reality. The keys are there, and there's happiness. I mean, it's a temporary thing with that situation, but there's the happiness. And so I think it's the same thing. It's always this person who's chasing the image of itself, believing itself to have the answer to find happiness within itself, in that aspect, rather than knowing I am the screen, or I am consciousness.
Yes, yes, John. When you contemplate your experience directly, you're contemplating awareness, consciousness. Yes. Right now, in this very moment, the reality of your experience is awareness, consciousness. Yes. You see, it's that. So it's the screen. But the images on the screen, John, are not a problem. There is a difference between images on the screen and believing oneself to be a person, a character on the screen. You see, so identification and this belief that I am a form, I am a form in time and space. That is a particular set of images on the screen, a particular set of thoughts, which we refer to as the belief, the identification belief, the I belief, the me belief. So an image on the screen could be just simply this perception. You could say that's an image on the screen, arising out of the screen. But believing oneself to be an object, to be a person, that is ignorance. Ignorance is a particular appearance which basically says, I, consciousness, am mortal.
Yes.
I, consciousness, exist in time and space. I am dependent upon time and space. That, the ignorance is a particular set of images on the screen. So often, people say, oh, I need to get rid of the mind, get rid of the mind. No, the mind is not the issue. It is identification that is the issue. It is ignorance that is the issue. The issue is never mind. The issue is identification. So don't be so concerned about thoughts, emotions, sensations. Simply pay attention to the me thought, the I thought. And whenever this I thought arises, what arises hand in hand with it is a contraction, what I refer to as an unhappiness. We need to be more sensitive to this unhappiness, because we don't like it. We don't want to have unhappiness. So it's important for us to understand the process of unhappiness, and understand how it is arising. Although we, happiness is not in the business of eclipsing itself, meaning being contracted and then released, contracted and released. There is no denial that whenever I am feeling that you're threatening me, I'm contracting myself, I'm defending myself, or I'm trying to attack the other. So it's defending, attacking, or hiding. These sort of contractions are this ignorance. They're the result of the ignorance. They're the result of identification, identifying myself with a lesser, with a form, and with a mortal form. And simply to noticing that is very important, because when we don't notice it, we believe it's our normal state, that it is to be human. Actually, many people say, oh, to be human is to suffer, or something like that. To be human, oh, what are you talking about? It's part of being a human. Sure. Well, we're not a human. We're not in the business of suffering. We are consciousness.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
human appearance can be a sweet appearance. Why not? A sweet appearance, a lovely appearance. I'm not talking about a body that never gets sick.
Right.
No, I'm talking about a place where we experience the world, body, mind. We experience the sweetness of it because we know our freedom.
Yeah.
We cannot
Some,
experience.
I think, what is it? Another person a lot of times says, well, you've said it as well, where you're untouched, is knowing
Yes,
that.
yes,
And so there's all kinds of beautiful things that can come up on the screen. And I guess I would be able to define what's beautiful or not in a sense. I mean, some things some people would think are not beautiful would be beautiful to me. But the beauty really is out of consciousness, is out of
yes,
being the
yes.
freedom,
It's the beauty of God, right? It's the beauty of consciousness. So that this contrast of opposites, of good and evil, beauty
Yeah.
beauty and ugliness, all of that belongs at the mind level, at the hypnotic level. At the reality level, at the truth level, it's just love. It's just the shining glory of consciousness, of beingness, of self-knowingness. And that is not in the business of good and evil, bad and ugly and beautiful. It's not in that business. It is in the business of freedom, joy, happiness, truth, and sharing the truth, and shining the truth, and celebrating the truth.
Yeah, it does seem to the me impression. You used the impression word. That does seem to dissolve more in the quickest way, it seems, or fastest. Not that it has to be quick or fast. I'm just using words, but um, the way it really dissolves for me is seeing its unreality.
Yes, yes,
Is
good.
seeing its unreality.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then it just can't be there, and it can't exist anymore
Yes,
like that.
yes,
It
yes.
can play,
Yeah.
but it's not the primary
Right.
existence.
You see the reality of God, the reality of consciousness,
Yes,
the reality of the self.
yes,
That is the shining light. Yes, that's the shining light.
yes, yes.
That is shining. And this message is a very important message. This is a universal message. This is the message that we're all in the depth of our heart. We're resonating with. We're contemplating, and that's not to be taken lightly, not to be made as a personal endeavor. This is the path of God. This is the highest, the path, the glorious path that the entire human field is calling for this revelation. So in a way, we are doing the work of God. We're doing the work of the entire humanity. We are carrying, we're walking that the path, not for our person. We are like messengers of God, one way of metaphorically speaking about it. And that message is a holy message that it falls on all ears, but not all ears can hear it. But still, we cannot stop. There are no. We go on with that. We go on with this contemplation and living according to the divine self, to the formless self, living as that, not living in the spinning mind and the memories and the thoughts and the feelings and the stories. That is an unending loop that sort of loops you deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, into the misery.
Yeah, yeah. It's losing sight in some way, another
Yes.
metaphor, or another way of
Yes.
saying it. But
Yes. This
yeah.
person.
Anyway, I'm going to get off so other people can get
Okay.
on. But thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Okay, John. Nice to talk to you.
Namaste.
Yes. Namaste. Okay. See you later, Nanda. So any questions? Any questions? Anyone?
No?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Somebody said something.
Yes, this is Ilse. Do you hear me?
Hello, Ilse. Yes, I hear you, Ilse. Hello, Ilse.
I was just wondering if you could go into awareness, consciousness, and the self.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I use the term awareness, consciousness, and the self, meaning the capital S, the self,
Yes.
synonymously. So I use them synonymously. I do not make distinctions between awareness and consciousness. I know Nisargadatta talks about awareness as being the ultimate reality and consciousness as being the mind. I don't make this distinction. So when I say awareness, consciousness, or the self, or reality, or truth, or the absolute, or presence, I am referring to the formless reality, to the one reality, whatever you call it. You could call it body, you could call it world, you could call it universe. It doesn't really matter the word, but it refers to the experience of wholeness. It's not just the concept refers to the experience. In our experience, we know, when we turn our attention, we know that there are objects appearing, but there is something that does not appear, that knows the objects. So there is an object and there is a knowingness of this object. The object has a beginning and an end, has a certain shape, has a certain size, has a certain density. But the knowingness is formless, has no shape, no size, no density, no age, no location, no gender. I refer to that, the reality that perceives, the reality of knowingness, as consciousness, awareness, the self. Now, there is, in the contemplation of our experience, we go from the impression of being a manifest form to the understanding that I am the formless awareness, and that these forms are not separate from the formless awareness consciousness. Like your night dreams are not separate from you, the dreamer. This is, so you go from the impression of being a form to knowing yourself as awareness consciousness. And then in the contemplation of this awareness consciousness, or the self, or the source, sometimes you use the term the source. In this contemplation, you come to the experiential revelation that the self, consciousness, awareness are not personal, they're universal. In other words, consciousness is limitless and eternal. That understanding is a result of your contemplation of consciousness. And at some point, once you come to that understanding, there still remains sort of a dropping, there's a dropping of the remaining, there is still a remaining sense of me, this remaining sense of separation that drops into that understanding. And this dropping can be referred to as everything, all impressions returning to the source. So we go from I am a person to I am consciousness, then to consciousness is universal, and all is consciousness. Experientially. There is an understanding and an experiential understanding, an experiential revelation of this understanding. And you know that the final dropping of the self into the source as a non-return, there's no return from that. You know that as the final dropping, and you know yourself as this ocean of bliss, of peace and happiness that's undisturbed and undisturbable. That knowingness is a silent knowingness, is a silent understanding that nobody can give you or take away from you. Which is referred to in the scriptures as the Sahaja Samadhi.
Yes.
And in most cases, in your inquiry, in your contemplation, you come to the self appears to you as an external guide that you will recognize, you will find a draw. Something will draw you to this contemplation with your teacher, who will unknot the final knot. That teacher is referred to as your Satguru.
Yes. Sometimes I really don't know what to ask. When I'm contemplating on the self, when I can be what I am, there's an understanding that there is something that it's being comprehended. And there is a feeling that there is like a feeling of that silent understanding that you were talking about, that silent knowing, at least for a few seconds. More and more I feel that is the way, because more and more I feel it is more appealing to be awareness, consciousness, and than anything else. Do you know what I mean? Or am I being too abstract?
Not at all. So this is good. Just stay with that. Just go to the heart of that. Just die into that. Don't hold back.
It doesn't matter if I am moving or doing things or going from one place to another, because usually is then when I see myself caught into the illusion, caught into the small self. It is like when I'm in action. Of course, if I sit and I contemplate on the self, it's different. But when I'm in action is when usually it's easier for me to forget about the self and, and maybe get caught into the contrary?
When you are learning the multiplication table, you go to the classroom and you spend 2 hours doing the multiplication tables, and then, or 1 hour, and then the bell rings, and when you go out in the world, you forget your multiplication table, and then next day you have another class of multiplication table, and same thing, when you go out into the world, you forget. But after maybe 1 week, when you go out, you will find that, you know, you look, you see you're standing in the line, and you're buying something, your mom is buying something, or your friend is buying something, and you find yourself doing, 7 times 7, 49, so, or like when you are practicing the piano, you practice for 1 hour the scales, and then when you go out, you forget, but you practice again and again, and then at some point when you're out, you start humming. You start humming. So the contemplation in stillness, in sitting, or in being quiet in your home or wherever, where there is the stillness and the presence. If you practice that enough, meaning if you savor that enough, if you spend time with that enough, because you love it, because it is the source, then you will find that when your body moves, it's still there. It may not happen right away, as you say, when you go out in the world, you sort of forget. But it will start to carry itself in the world. Also, in the world, when you notice that there is the mind and all this, there are two things you need to understand. That the mind is not a problem. Driving a car, going to the store, talking with friends, whatever, cooking something, is not a problem. It's an activity that requires your attention. So your attention is on that activity. But to believe myself to be a mortal person, meaning to have concerns and worries, and do they like me? Did I say the right thing? Regretting, all of these. That is not the mind. That is ignorance. That is identification. That is the virus, the virus of identification. And that is what you don't like. There is no problem with driving somewhere or cooking something or talking to somebody in the street. The problem is with self-judgment and judgment of others and self-measurement, and that's the problem. The sense of lack, the sense of incompleteness. In the world, when this sense of incompleteness arises, you don't notice it. But when you notice it, you notice, I'm not feeling at ease, meaning there is a contraction. You can continue your activity and at the same time turn your attention to how you are leaving presence and you are embracing the person, how you are leaving our natural self, our true nature, by imagining another and me and that this other wants something from me that it cannot deliver, or doesn't love me, or should love me. And notice that that is unhappy, and
Yes.
it is not necessary. You don't need to maintain it. You can say, okay, I see it. That's not what I love. And I'm just going to try to be with this person without caring so much about my image, without being worried about my image, without, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna experiment with being childlike, with being unprotected, undefended, and no need to attack, because sometimes we build a shell around ourselves, and sometimes we pull a sword and we want to attack the other. So you're willing to experiment with being in your innocence. So you can conduct these experiments in your daily life. And they're important experiments for you to conduct, because you will find that it is possible to be in the world without self-judgment and without judging others. Why not?
Yes. Well, yeah, well, what I meant was that precisely that it's like more often I'm into an action, maybe washing the dishes, and then, a judgment comes or a story comes. And then I get it, and what I do, I realize that, this is not me. And then I experience my true self, because there is like a pause and there is a recognition. And then I can stay for a little while into the silence, into the
Yes.
into the feeling, the being, into just being.
Mm-hmm.
Because the story is gone.
Yes.
More often I can catch my mind going into places where I don't want to go, and I immediately stop, knowing that that is not what is.
Yes. That's good.
Yes, it's good. And more and more I feel like confirmation.
The confirmation will come to you as increasing peace, increasing happiness, increasing sense of presence in your life.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other question, anyone? Okay, so thank you very much for your lovely company and your questions and your love. We'll meet again next Thursday. I am out of town, but the week after that, we'll see each other. Okay, namaste.
Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Okay,
Namaste.
say goodbye, everybody. Okay.
Bye-bye.